Let's try that again. Good morning. Welcome to the Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and my pronouns are she and her, and we're so glad to see all of you here this morning. You do not have to believe a creed to be comfortable among us. We welcome you in the spirit of those beliefs which we covenant to affirm and promote, and you can learn more about them on our website. And we also want to say good morning to those who are joining us virtually, which is still about half of our folks. So can we say good morning from the campus to everyone virtually? Good morning, yes. And if you're visiting us here on campus, please see us after the service down at the umbrella table that's at the end of the building. There'll be someone there to answer questions for you. If you're visiting us virtually, please complete a virtual visitor's card because we would love to be able to be in touch. We always have a lot of things going on. And today we have our animal blessing, which is going to have a special dedication and recognition of our redwood grove today at 1 o'clock. So I know some of you plan to go home and bring in beloved animals and join us. So we look forward to having you here as well. We will also be releasing our beads that we collected in the grove into the ground, into the grove today at that time. We have live Vespers and also virtual Vespers this Wednesday, so we hope you will join us, and after that, we will have our first ministers class for this year. We are very grateful to all of you who registered to be here today, and we remind you that registration is requested for all activities on campus because it allows us to plan and make the best use of our time. So please do go to our calendar and check out everything that we have going on, and please contact us if we can be of help during what continue to be rather stressful and challenging times. But welcome. We're so glad that you're here today. Oh yeah, Sharon doesn't have a mic. That is a good point. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry about that. There we go.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Sharon Solstice. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming faith community. We begin our services by reading our mission together. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith,
bridge the divisions that wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world.
We're glad that you're joining us today in whichever of the 4 ways you have chosen. Connecting to one another is very important, and we encourage you to stay connected, whether virtually or in person, as you feel comfortable. Our spiritual practice sessions, justice actions, classes, and discussion groups are all described in the weekly church email and on our website, mduuc.org. It's wonderful to connect as we can. As we go through this time of experimentation, we invite you to reach out to the board, let us hear from you, and join us for connections after the service, virtually or in person here on campus. Welcome. It's good to be together.
We invite you to join in clapping. It's okay to move as you come in. Dance a little bit. It's great. Let's sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah, 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 sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah, hallelujah, sing hallelujah. Hallelujah, sing hallelujah, hallelujah,
Good morning. I'm James Botts, and this is
Carol Sue Kane.
today's chalice lighting from Oobleck, Maine comes from the singer, songwriter, poet, and musician Carrie Newcomer from her book Until Now, New Poems. This poem is titled When I Most Want to Rush.
When I most want to rush. When I most want to rush, perhaps it is time to slow down. What might happen if I stopped trying to get to the epilogue before I read the middle chapters? Maybe I would breathe into right where I am and love what I find there. Know that wherever I am is right where I need to be, and lose all interest in runaway trains. I can keep drinking from a fire hose that drenches me without quenching my thirst, or I can taste one drop of honey, let it rest on my tongue until it is gone. I'm not saying I should give up or stop, but just begin to live this, and then that, breathing into one true thing and then into the next, and finally learn when I most want to rush, it is time to slow down.
Good morning. My name is Indigo Lewis. I'm the director for Lifespan Religious Education here at Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. My pronouns are she and hers. And one of the exciting things about today is that at 1 o'clock today, we are having a special animal blessing here at church. So that's when people bring in an animal, sometimes even stuffed animals, sometimes even a picture of an animal, and they have their animal blessed. So our story this morning is in honor of our animal friends, and it's called How Kindness Leads to Great Joy. In the land of Gandhara in India, there lived a good and noble man, a Brahmin. He was given a gift of a young ox calf and was so happy with the ox that he named him Great Joy. He treated the young ox with kindness, feeding him rice and other special foods, and Great Joy grew and grew until he was very, very big and very, very strong. Now, one day Great Joy said to himself, "The Brahmin has been so loving and kind to me, and I have grown to be the strongest, most powerful bull in all the land. Now, I want to do something for him." So, Great Joy leaned over to the Brahmin and said, "Kind sir, I know a way I can repay you for your goodness to me. Please listen." And Great Joy told the Brahmin his plan. Great Joy told the Brahmin to go to town and say to the merchants there, "My ox, Great Joy, is so strong that he can pull 100 carts filled with sand, gravel, and stones." One rich merchant answered, "That is impossible." And the Brahmin said, "I will bet you 1,000 pieces of silver that he can do it." The merchant agreed to the bet. So, the next day, the Brahmin brought Great Joy to town and hooked him up to the 100 carts filled with heavy sand, gravel, and rocks, and the whole town turned out to see what would happen. The Brahmin climbed into the seat right behind Great Joy. He started waving his driving stick and shouted at the top of his voice, "Now, you beast, pull with all your strength." And then the Brahmin hit the ox with the stick. Great Joy was very surprised at the Brahmin's actions. Beast, what kind of name do you call me? And you hit me with your stick? Great Joy thought about it, and he refused to move. The Brahmin yelled and hit Great Joy some more, but he still refused to move, and everyone started laughing and making fun of Brahmin and his ox. Finally, the Brahmin had to pay the merchant the 1,000 pieces of silver, and then he unhooked Great Joy from the 100 carts and took him home. The Brahmin was heartbroken and crying. Great Joy went to the Brahmin and asked him, "Why are you crying, my friend?" How can you ask me that question?" the Brahmin wailed. "You know I have lost all my money today. Everyone in town is laughing at me, and it's all because of you." "Well, dear Brahmin," said the ox, "in all my days living with you, have I ever trampled through your garden, or broken a plow, or stepped on your children's feet?" "No," answered the Brahmin. "In truth, you have never done any harm to me." "Then why did you hit me with your stick?" Great Joy asked. "Do I not deserve to be treated with kindness?" Oh, the Brahmin was ashamed of what he had done. He knew the ox was right. In kindness, Great Joy said, "Look, let us start over again. Go back to the merchant and bet him 2,000 pieces of silver. Be kind to me, and we will win." The Brahmin followed Great Joy's advice, and the bet was made. Again, they went to the town. The townspeople came to watch. Great Joy was hooked up to the carts again. But this time, the Brahmin left the stick behind. Instead, he gently said, "My good friend, my dear brother, my Great Joy, you have the strength. Please pull the carts now." And with one great pull, Great Joy pulled the carts. He pulled those carts out of town and back again. And the Brahmin was paid 2,000 pieces of silver, and everyone in the town cheered for Great Joy. And then the Brahmin gave Great Joy a huge hug and promised to treat him always with kindness. And now I would like to invite everyone to sing our children and youth out to their activities.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your hearts know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Hello, my name is Alex Hagerstrand. My pronouns are they, them. I'm your youth representative from the Board of Trustees. When Reverend Leslie asked me to talk about how I stay grounded with the big uncertainties that my generation has inherited, problems like climate change, denied bodily autonomy, systematic repression, the economy, my answer at first was, I don't stay grounded. But obviously, that's not the case, because if I weren't, then I would be panicking all the time. So I thought about it and came to a conclusion that some of the time, I have to completely emotionally disconnect from these issues. Because I cannot be constantly fixing these problems on a macro level, I push them to the back of my mind. An example of this happened yesterday when I was looking up the weather for today. I had to shove my fear down when I read that today's high is going to be 94 degrees. It's October. Another occurs every morning when I take a shower, making sure to keep it at 5 minutes. I begin to ask myself, Are my children going to have enough water to survive? How much damage can we do to this planet before it becomes irreversible? Sometimes I'll be scrolling through TikTok and see a video about a teen getting harassed at an abortion clinic by adults. And on one hand, I have to prepare myself to watch the video. But on the other, I've seen so many like it that it just bounces off. And personally, that apathy is just as frightening as the anxiety. Even though I know I have to stay informed, I have trouble getting myself to look at the news because I'm afraid of what I'm going to find. These issues seem out of my control and begin to overwhelm me, so I stay grounded by not thinking about them. Now that is all true, but through more reflection, I realized that there are positive tactics that I use to help my general mental health that have an impact on my reaction to these issues. I've been eating healthier, putting my phone away to charge so I'm not spending as much time on it, and making sure that I sustain the friendships that I have. I also made the decision at the beginning of quarantine to exercise 4 times a week, even when I don't want to. And a little secret, I never want to. All these acts of self-care help me to stay grounded. There is one more method I use. When the opportunity to change one of these problems in my community does come up, I am ecstatic to pitch in. Changing a sexist policy at my school or going to a protest is extremely helpful because it makes these plights feel more manageable. That isn't to say that social justice work is fun. It's stressful, makes you stick out, and a lot of the time doesn't work. But in spite of it all, it is still a grounding practice. I know that I have to deal with these problems, as does the rest of Gen Z. And I know that I cannot procrastinate fixing this world. But I am hoping that these methods continue to keep me out of my head, help me see the big picture, and create the solutions that are needed to establish change. And I hope that maybe you guys can use some of these as well. Well, maybe not the first one. Welcome. Let us worship together.
We invite you to rise, embody your spirit, and breathe with us. Just breathe with us. It's okay to move around. It's okay to move with the music. Let the music move you. Listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. Is the ancestors' breath when the fire's voice is heard? Is the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters? Those who have died have never, never left. The dead are not under the earth. They are in the rustling trees. They are in the groaning woods. They are in the crying glass. They are in the moaning rocks. The dead are not under the earth. So listen more often to things than to beings. Listen more often to things than to beings. Is the ancestors' breath in the father's voice is heard? Is the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters? Those who have died have never, never left. The dead have a pact with the living. They are in the woman's breast. They are in the wailing child. They are with us in our homes. They are with us in this crowd. The dead have a pact with the living. So listen more often to things than to being. Listen more often to things than to being. Is the ancestors' breath in the voice is heard? Is the ancestors' breath in the voice of the waters?
This is the time in our service when we take into the wider heart of this community those joys and sorrows that are too great to hold alone. And we want to begin this morning by lighting a candle to note that this week our nation passed yet another milestone, 700,000 deaths from COVID-19. Nisa Matt asks that we light a candle of sorrow in memory of Carrie Kirkham, who lost her battle with cancer on Friday, October 1st. Nisa writes, Miss Carrie was my first mentor and encouraged me to become a teacher when I was still a teen. Her influence will be forever present in my love and care for my students. We are lighting a candle today for Elise Hansel. Elise and her daughter Margaret may be joining us sometime later today. But Elise is also remembering Elise and the Hansel family in our hearts today. We're lighting a candle for the family and friends of Beth Snordham and reminding everyone that Beth's service is next Saturday. Registration is required and seating in the sanctuary will be limited. We are asked by Beth's daughter Lisa to bring a flower in honor of Beth, and remember all 4 ways of attending worship will be possible for attending that celebration of life as well. Peter Koppelman asks that we light 2 candles today. One is a candle of joy for the prospect of rejoining his wife, son, daughter, and first grandson in Annandale, Virginia, and a candle of sorrow at leaving MDUUC, where he writes, I have found a home, and we will miss you, Peter, as well. Miranda Lennox said that we could light a candle for them this morning. Miranda, who has now the chosen name of Bran, is delighted to inform us all that they have been cleared to enter ministry by the Ministerial Fellowship Committee. And we're lighting a candle of joy to honor Kevin Shea for more than 20 years of youth advising with our youth group. I asked Michael to light 2 final candles. One holds all the joys and sorrows that are unexpressed in our hearts, but which we also gather in to hold together. And the other holds our hopes, dreams, and aspirations for this one imperfect and totally beautiful world of which we are a part.
All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well.
I invite you to join me in the spirit of meditation this morning. And I'm going to invite you to lower your gaze or find a space before you that you might want to look at. And as you breathe, I invite you to just quietly tap on your legs before you We'll just get a little rhythm of presence here in the room together. Let's just take a moment, come into this space. And as you tap, I invite you to join me in saying, I am here right now. I'm going to really invite you to try this. It is an alternative to breathing for people who find it hard to be present to the breath. So let's just get that rhythm going. Tap, 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 tap. I am here right now. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. And as you continue to tap softly, I invite you to be aware of what you are feeling. Perhaps you are angry or frustrated. Perhaps you are viewing us at home because you don't like the restrictions we have here on campus. I am here right now. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. I invite you to scan your heart and to find what is present there. Perhaps it is great sorrow, for so many of us have been touched by loss in this year. Continue to breathe, continue to be present. I am here right now. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. Perhaps you are one of the people who has to deal with others' anger and frustration on a daily basis. Perhaps you are too often the one who gets to feel people not being at their best in your daily job. I am here right now. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. Perhaps you're holding sorrow about the state of the world, the things that are going on. In this place, we hold what we cannot hold alone. So allow yourself to feel those feelings of fear and scared and anxiety. I am here right now. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. Perhaps this has been a week where you have made wonderful connections with your heart, where you have been given gifts. There is a space in this world always for joy, for great joy. I am present here. What I feel is what I feel. I am present here. And let us become aware that in all that is happening, we come together to remind ourselves that we are, in fact, not alone. And I invite you to bring that into your consciousness as well. We are here right now, and what we feel is what we feel. What we are present here. And let us now together just breathe.
Alarm clock screaming, bare feet hit the floor. It's off to the races, everybody out the door. I'm feeling like I'm falling behind. It's a crazy life. 90 miles an hour, as fast as I can. Trying to push a little harder, trying to get the upper hand. So much to do in so little time. It's a crazy life. So much to do, time and time all around. Just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and be. Just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to just breathe. Third cup of Joe just to get me through the day. Wanna make the most of time, but I feel it slip away. I wonder if there's something more to this crazy life. I'm busy, 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 and it's no surprise to see that I only have time for me, me, me. I'm hanging on to tight in this crazy life. I'm hanging on tight to another wild day. When it starts to fall apart in my heart, I hear you say, just breathe, just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to take it all in, the peace of love that overcomes. Just breathe, just breathe. Let your weary spirit rest, lay down the front and find what's best. Just breathe, just breathe. Just breathe, just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and be, just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to just breathe. Just breathe.
Good morning. My name is Steve Hirsch, and I am privileged to serve on our church board. I use the pronouns he, him, and his. I have a confession to make. MDUC is the first religious institution I've joined. So, as an unchurched, unsynagogued guy, one of the many surprise learnings of my membership is how much I enjoy the regular rituals that occur during our worship services. Lighting the chalice, the call to worship, the time for all ages, and the call for the offering. What I most like about the call for the offering is how it symbolizes community gratitude. This time in our Sunday services creates space for each of us to give back and support the mission of our church. Filling the basket, either in person or virtually, is a communal act and represents a tangible way that each of us, no matter our individual financial situations, can contribute and make a difference. The amount put in the basket is not important, but the act of giving is important and meaningful. So if you're able, today and future Sundays, place a nickel, a quarter, $1 or more in the basket, or contribute virtually by going to www.mduc.org and clicking the Give Now button. Thank you for your generosity. The ushers will now come forward to accept our offerings. please join me in the dedication of our offering. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
Good morning, beloveds. How is your heart? It's a question I often asked during my time in a trauma recovery center, hoping to better understand the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual condition of the person before me. True to our nature, those opposite of me would list the tasks they had completed and those still left undone for the day, to which I would reply, "But how is your heart?" This morning, I invite us to ask ourselves, ¿Cómo estás mi corazón? Or, how is my heart? This simple question encourages us to explore the depths of our condition and identify where we are rooted and where our center sits. It asks us to sift through our spiritual journey, diving beyond our intellectual understanding, and tap into the emotional and physical pieces, offering us a chance to bring our whole selves into balance. The body is where we fear, hope, and react. Our response to the world around us lives and breathes in our bodies and manifests physically. And our breath is more than just a complex motor task. It is a spiritual practice that can be controlled and utilized to ground and center ourselves. So as it feels right, I'm going to invite all of us, both on campus and joining us virtually, to engage in a collective breathing practice I like to use. I invite you to find a comfortable position, and as it feels right, gently close your eyes. Imagining we are inhaling light and healing energy, let us take in one deep breath. And as we exhale, we are releasing heaviness, stress, and worry. Let us take another deep breath in. And as we exhale, can you feel the energy of our collective breath giving life to the world around us? Let us take another deep breath in. And as we exhale, can you feel our connection to Mother Earth and all her natural beauty and wonder? Let us take one last deep breath in. And as we exhale, ask yourself, how is my heart? If your eyes are closed, gently reopen them. And I invite us all back into this sacred space. As we go forward, may we feel empowered to share how our hearts are and ask others, how is your heart? Amen. Ashe. Blessed be.
In this world in which we're living, it is easy to make mistakes, which is one of the things that can cause us stress. I want to acknowledge that I omitted one sorrow this morning, and I want to take a moment and go back and rectify that. We are lighting a candle of sorrow this morning, and it is from the Loney family, Sylvia, Marisol, Alicia, and Lily, and they write this. Today, October 3rd, marks the 6-month anniversary of the passing of our beloved Bobby Loney. Bobby was an amazing father, husband, teacher, and friend We miss him more than words can express, and our hearts go out to the Lonies who are joining us virtually this morning. Thank you. I had to go swimming an extra time this week for reasons that, we just demonstrated once again. There's a little bit of stress in this particular time of life. And since the spring, I have swum usually once a week. This week, which had a whole lot more sorrow and conflict and upset and challenge than I was expecting at the beginning of the week, I decided needed a second swimming session. Now, though I have a natural breaststroke, I am not a strong swimmer. In fact, I think I didn't even make it through advanced beginning in formal swimming lessons as a kid. And I've been trying, when I get a lane to myself, to try to figure out, how to swim a backstroke without actually injuring other people around me. I'm pretty flummoxed about the whole thing about kicking from the hips. Hips do not kick. Knees kick. Ankles can kick. Not hips. Anyway, I'm still trying. But the point is, it's a break. It's an exercise. It's a way that I find to breathe. And this week, I needed to just breathe. Jon Kabat-Zinn was an innovator, one of the first to insist that meditation and mindfulness could be of use in medical settings. And many of us know that now, and know his work, which began at the University of Massachusetts in their medical center and spread across the nation and across the world. And yet he says that there has never been a time in which we all need to learn a little bit about mindfulness. Never a time like this time. Just a year ago, almost exactly to the day, he did a live stream session to invite people into the very simple practices of mindfulness which he cultivates. And 21,500 people joined him in that session. He was overwhelmed. He did say at the beginning, I'm not going to try to look at the faces of 21,500 people on Zoom. I'm just not going to do it. But then he said that he thinks that mindfulness, which he defines as paying attention in the moment, on purpose and non-judgmentally, is pretty basic. That's it. Paying attention in the moment, on purpose, non-judgmentally. And he said that it's important because checking in with ourselves right now, not in the past that we're stuck on or the future that we're anticipating with worry, but just ensuring ourselves to understand where we are right in this moment has never been more important. He notes that the trend in this nation and in this world has been towards the stressful even before the COVID-19 pandemic. And the tools that we used in those times to interrupt the cycles of anxiety, say a year ago, are still very valid tools. So breathing this morning is a metaphor which can mean for some of us taking an actual breath, taking a moment and taking an actual breath, or it can also mean doing something else that calls us back into awareness about the present moment. Perhaps tapping on our knees as we did during the meditation time, or dancing as some did with some great glory last night here on campus, or petting a beloved animal, or simply getting up a little bit early to gaze at the morning stars, which have been absolutely beautiful, I can tell you, this week. Just being present. It's very important. Because breath can be a gateway away from that state, the bombardment of our worries that are all around us right now. When our to-do list is longer than the length of the pool, it's important to take that moment and go for the swim. It's important. We just need to breathe. This was a week in which, in addition to other news, we also learned that 23 new species were added to the extinction list, which to this date, since 1955, had only had 21 species on it total, which tells us about the pace of change in our world. We continue to grapple with the complex truths of our times, that this is not last fall, but it's not the fall before it either. And we're definitely not post-pandemic, as those very large numbers that we were exposed to this week remind us. It's a time in which we need to breathe, because in breathing, we remember that we're connected to air, to the other life forms around us, that we are, in fact, not alone. That it is not our sole task to take on all of this by ourselves, but simply to be part of the change, part of the solution. We are all feeling stress, and we are acting out, many of us, from that anger and fear, like that Brahmin with his ox, great joy. When we get stressed or when we feel pressure, sometimes the best of ourselves does not come forward. On Wednesday, I witnessed 3 different interactions of people being unkind to one another. One was a woman walking into a store and just beginning to berate the person behind the counter for the masking requirement, which is a county requirement, not something that employee could actually do anything about. I saw someone turn accidentally, probably out of their stress, into an incoming lane of traffic, and people rolled down their windows and honked and cursed like I've never seen before. We are all feeling great stress. So it's important for us to find that time to take the collective breath here on Sunday mornings or throughout our week, so that we can actually figure out how to connect to who we want to be, how we want to act. Because it's a reminder that no matter what happens in the world, we are not only not solely responsible for all of that, but we do have choices about what we do and what we do act on. And as Kabat-Zinn's very simple approach to mindfulness and meditation illustrates, a lot of that has to do with what we did in our meditation today. Taking a moment, not just to take a break, but to check in with what we are actually feeling and treating it non-judgmentally. If we're feeling anger, we're feeling anger. But if we try to push away, as so many religions have told us in the past, to not feel those feelings of anger or envy or shame or frustration, then we unfortunately allow them to come out later in ways we don't want them to. This metaphorical time of breathing is about stopping to notice what is going on within us, taking that momentary inventory without judgment, so that it's less likely to come and swamp us some other time when we don't want it to. We need to do things that help us remember that we are not just a list of endless thoughts that are churning around in our little brains, but that we are actually also physical people that can get a great deal of pleasure just from our physical existence. Whether it's savoring a bite of food, and I know there's a lot of good cooks in here today, I'm looking around, or whether it's actually allowing the ecstasy of dance or motion. All of these things are very important to allowing ourselves to live fully in this time and not just through those lenses of worry or concern. It may be very important for us to be able to also understand where we are so that we can be better able to be present to where others are as well. Sharon Salzberg reminds us that we cannot truly be empathetic to another person's emotions and feelings if we aren't present to our own, and that is a basic foundation upon which we need to start. We are better able to take in the world as it is if we can take little bites of presence in between, and we can take a big gulp of literal or physical or figurative air and let out that breath that we're holding again. It's very important to do. Maybe we want to deny that the world has changed and don't want to deal with the changes that are real. Maybe we don't want to hear that we might need to sacrifice a little bit of what we want to allow others to be present to what they need. Maybe we are holding great sorrow, whatever it is that we are feeling. Maybe we are feeling great joy, and we are feeling some survivor's guilt around that, because I've also talked to folks that are experiencing that. Whatever it is, maybe we go back to the words of Carol Sue Kane's friend, the singer and writer Carrie Newcomer, who said, "When I most want to rush, perhaps it's time to slow down. What might happen if I stop trying to get to the epilogue before I read the middle chapters? Maybe I would breathe into right where I am and love what I find there. Know that wherever I am is right where I need to be." In this world, today, this moment, not the world of last year, when we bring into our individual consciousness that which is present for us, we can also begin to embrace our part in a bigger, larger collective consciousness. Breathing is something we want everyone to be able to do freely and for as long as is naturally possible. Sharon Salzberg reminds us that opening ourselves to our own truths allows us to be open to the truths of others. And Lama Rod Owens writes, "As I practice mindfulness sometime each day, it becomes a practice of being in my body, knowing my body, moving with my body as it moves through the world. It is breathing with it, hurting with it, rejoicing with it." If we can each take that time for the literal or figurative breath and make space in our days to check in with ourselves and know how we are doing in this time, we may actually realize that we have gained some wisdom over these last couple years. And we don't need to be like those people who adopted pets in the pandemic and are now returning them to the shelter because they no longer fit in their lifestyle. We can actually take up these new wisdoms that we have, and we can grow into them and integrate them into this world as we are today. It's important for us to continue to learn from what we have learned in this time, because the times that we're in today make it also important. I'm coming to believe that I may never learn to kick from the hip. I'm sure several of you will try to edify me later, which I'll appreciate, but it's still as valuable as it was this time last year to take the time in the water and to just be in that water and to feel myself as a floating object in water and to be there with the joy of the bubbles around me and to simply be and breathe. When I come onto campus these days, I continue a practice I started in the pandemic when I was so sad about people not being here, which was to look at the redwoods at the edge on the Chapel Grove and to allow myself to come into mindfulness at the sight of those giant trees. I continue that practice. When we most want to rush, perhaps we have to pause and just breathe.
We've been seated for a long time, so we're going to invite you to rise in body or spirit. Again, allow the music to move you. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise, while the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love.
Let's go ahead and thank our musicians. If you have not been here on campus, and we have so many people that are here for the first time in so long, it is such a blessing to have you here. I will tell you that we recess during the postlude, so you will understand that when everyone starts moving around you. And I will invite Michael to extinguish our chalice with these words from John Kabat-Zinn. As long as you are breathing, there is more right with you than wrong with you, no matter what is wrong. Let us go out into the world and let us be the ones to cultivate a sense of love, connection, unity, and peace.
That's a neat song.